Welcome to the Consulting Kingdom, the ultimate podcast for business consultants who are ready to master their craft and make a meaningful impact as a kingdom business. Hosted by Patrick Bell, this podcast dives into powerful strategies and actionable insights that will help you grow in your consulting expertise. Through expert interviews, the Consulting Kingdom pulls from our guests their advice and equips you with the tools and knowledge and heart direction necessary to drive extraordinary results for your clients and your business. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast and follow us on social media for exclusive content and updates. Now, get ready to unlock your consulting potential with the Consulting Kingdom.
All right, I'm here today with the famous Martin Howey in the Consulting Kingdom. And it is such a treat for me to have Martin in the room. I'm just so grateful because Martin has not only been a great example of what it means to be a stellar professional and the highest level consultant, but also Martin has helped me so much in my own business consulting and my journey, how to serve consultants. So anyway, Martin, welcome to the Consulting Kingdom.
Thanks, Pat. It's really nice to be here with you. It's nice to see you again, and I can't wait to hear what we have to talk about.
All right. Well, I want to just maybe go back if we can and talk about your career, because you've had this very illustrious career in consulting. Could you tell our audience a little bit about that? Maybe some highlights, how you got started, what happened?
Sure. I was running a business in California at the time, and I had a gym, actually, and I was about 23 years old, 22 years old when I started that. And times were getting a little bit tough, and some of the gyms were having competition from a big name player, which was called European Health Spas. And Jack LaLanne, who was a real fitness expert at that time, signed on, and they used his name. And so they were promoting this gym, and they were running some of the smaller gyms out of business up and down the coast of California. They couldn't compete with them. And I figured out how to compete with them and what I could do, and by selling supplements to people. And so I would sell supplements to someone. When you work out, you tear your muscles down, and the way you build it back is with various supplements of protein and proper nutrition. And I figured that out. Well, when the gyms were closing up, the supplement companies were having trouble too, because that was a big part of their business. So they came to me and they said, well, Martin, how is it you're able to survive against these big box health studios and the other ones can't? And so I told them what I was doing. They said, well, would you be willing to talk to the other gyms and explain to them what they were doing? And maybe that will help our business. So I said, fine. So I went out and I started working with these other gyms. And what I found, I was spending time helping their business, but when I was gone from my business, that was hurt my business. So I started charging for it. And they started paying me for that. Well, it wasn't long before one of my clients said, hey, my husband has a business, or he works for a business, and they need speakers. It's a corporation. They need speakers. Can you speak on sales? And of course I said, well, sure. And I'd never really done that before, but I took it on and I went and spoke to them. And then one thing happened after another, and I became a sales trainer for some of the big corporations. Later on, I understood that sales is only a result of effective marketing. You have to have somebody to talk to in order to sell them. So I started getting into marketing, and I worked for companies like AT&T and State Farm Insurance and Black & Decker, Kellogg, General Mills, some of those kinds of companies, Bank of America. And I was kind of a go-to person for them when it came time to try to improve their sales and their marketing. And after a while, about 9 years, somebody came to me and said, well, Martin, I'd like to do what you do. Can you teach me how to do what you do? And I thought, well, not really, but I had enough people ask me about that. So I started training a few people on the side on how to become business consultants and how to consult with businesses and help them in various aspects of the business, how to improve marketing, how to improve sales, how to increase the profits, the bottom line profits, how to restructure some of the business. And these were things that I learned over that 9 year period. Well, one thing turned into another, and I started to get a pretty good sized business. And one day, somebody from the UK called me and he said, "Hey, Martin, I'd like to do what you're doing over here in the UK. Can you help me?" And I said, "Well, I'm really not interested in doing that." And he said, "Well, look, I'm going to be in town, or I'm going to be in the US, and can I come and see you?" And I said, "Well, where are you?" And he says, "Well, I'll be going to Disney World. We take our family to Disney World every year, and I'll just stop by and see you." And I said, "Well, that's like 3,000 miles. What do you mean you just stop by and see me?" So that's a long distance. He said, "Well, I'll make it work. I'll bring my family, and I'll send him home when we're finished, and I'll just come see him." I said, "Okay." So he came and he saw me, and he said, "I really like what you're doing, and can you show me how?" And I said, "Well, I really don't want to get involved in that and training a bunch of people. I have a handful of people I'm working with now." And he said, "Well, why don't we start and we'll build an international company?" So we did, and it took off. And in 6.5 months, we built this company up to a $12.4 million business.
Wow.
We sold a franchise, so we would sell master licenses in the UK and Ireland, and then they would sell the consultants, individual consultants. So we had master licenses that were going from London went for 1.7 million pounds, and so other ones went for 900,000 pounds, and so on. So we built that up to $12.4 million in 6.5 months, and then I was missing a lot of time with my family. I would be
Sure.
there for a couple of weeks and back here for a few days and back there for a couple of weeks, and it just wasn't the way I wanted to live my life. So I got out of that part of the business. I sold that part of the business and started just basically in the U.S. building that up. And then what happened there is more people came from different parts of the world, and wanted to learn how to be business consultants. Now, the company we had in the UK, um, that person was a good marketer. My partner was a good marketer, but he didn't know how to run the business. All
Right.
the information was my information. It was materials, my manuals, everything I had was mine, and he would do the marketing. But when I left, you can market something, but if you don't know how to teach people how to run it and how to use it, then it's
Yeah.
really upside down. So he folded eventually, and my business took off, and we trained. At one point, we had I think 4,600 consultants in 78 countries.
Amazing.
And then at that point, I decided I've been doing this for a long time. I turned 80 years old, and I decided that I didn't want to do that anymore. It's time for me to scale down, and I got some health problems, and so I sold my business off in various pieces of it. And so right now, I'm just working with a handful of higher level consultants. We work with businesses around 25 million plus, and I have a couple of corporate clients myself, and I have a team of other people who I help in working with those kind of companies. A few of them work
So
a little
you're
small.
still going. You're not stopping.
No, what would I do? I mean, I look at my time and I say, if I didn't do this, what would I do? And I've
Yeah.
got myself to the point where I had to look at things and say, what's more important, the time or the money? And if you have all the money you need, but you don't have any time to spend it, the money's no good. If you have all the time that you need, but you don't have the money to enjoy yourself, then what good is the time? So you have to have money freedom and time freedom. Those two things are very important. And so you need to set your business up to where the business works for you and not you working for the business. Too many
Right.
coaches and consultants I see get into a business and they didn't they didn't start a business. They started another job. And that
Right.
job is they got out of their job to become a consultant or a coach because the boss they had worked them too hard, too long, and didn't pay them enough. Now they find themselves in a situation working for another boss who's even worse themselves. He's paid them too little and working them too hard and too long. So you've got to take a look at this and say, what's it worth? What is your time is your life. If you lose $100 or $1,000, you can get that money back. You can go back and re-earn it. But if you lose an hour of your time or a day of your time, you can't get that back. That's your life. And once it's gone, it's gone. So you have
Yeah.
to think, okay, what am I doing right now moving me closer to or farther away from my goal? Well, first of all, what is your goal? What do you want to do? Where do you want to be? You look at yourself right now and say, how old am I? If I keep doing what I've been doing for the last 2 years or the last 6 months, am I going to be in any different place? So you've got to find a way to say, okay, I'm not happy where I'm at, and I call it divine discontent, right? You could be unhappy about something, but am I unhappy in the right way? Am I unhappy because I'm not maybe serving my master, serving the Lord? Is there? And I look at that. That's a real big part of my life. Um, who am I serving? Am I serving myself, my family, my clients, my business? Am I serving the Lord? And that's what I look at, and I kind of prioritize that and say, what's number one in my life? What's number two? And what's number three? And I kind of go down that path, and I set my business up to where I have the time freedom and the money freedom to be able to do what He wants me to do, and then I try to work my life around that.
Wow. Yeah, that's really good. It's hard to keep our priorities straight sometimes, isn't it? Because we have so many pressures coming around us, and it's not like, I mean, for me, I think it's not like there's a number one, a number two, and number three. It's not like God is first, Holly, my wife, is second, my kids are third. I think it's just more all integrated. So even as I'm working, I'm marketing, I'm creating, for me, that's because I feel like that's what God wants me to do. That means that when I'm doing that, that's when I'm serving Him in that moment. And as I do that with my best ability, you know, doing what He asked me to do with my best ability, with the right attitude, it's just worship. You know, there's not like a ministry I have on the side and then I go to work. It's just all blended together. Uh, Man.
Well, I
So
think you have to be careful by prioritizing and saying God is number one, my family's number two, but you have to be careful because if you spend all your time working for God and you don't take care of yourself, you're eventually going to fail, right? You've got to take care of yourself. You've got to take care of your family. I mean, you take care of your health. You've got to make sure your finances are right. Because I know people who go out there and they just want to work for the ministry and do whatever, and they're living in a shack and they don't have the money to go off and do the things. It takes money to serve God. You have,
yeah,
unfortunately, that's the way it's set up, right? You have to be able to live. You have to feed yourself. You have to feed your family. You have to be able to have shelter, and you have to have clothing and all the rest of it. Well, that takes money. So if you look at it and say, God is my partner, how can we do this together? What is it?
hmm
And so many of our prayers are based on on what I want. Here's what I
yeah,
want, rather than saying, show me what lackest thou? That scripture, what lackest thou? Where am I lacking? What is it that I need to do? And show me what I need to do to be able to fulfill the mission that I have here on this earth.
wow,
What is my mission? What am I supposed to do to fill that? And where am I lacking on it? Because
yeah,
we can get top heavy in any one of these aspects of our lives, and that's not
yeah.
healthy.
It's a continual adjustment,
Mhm.
like on a daily basis.
And people talk about having
Continual.
a balanced life. You have to be careful with that because when I'm at work, I'm 100% at work. I'm not thinking about my family. I'm not thinking about myself. I'm not necessarily thinking about God because that's part of what I do. But when I'm at work, I'm at work. When I'm at home, I'm at home. I'm with my family. I'm not thinking about work. I'm not thinking about it. When I'm in my ministry part of it, that's exactly what I'm thinking about. So, and the other parts come in somewhat, but I have a dominant thing that I'm working on at that
Yeah,
particular time.
yeah. There you go. That's a good way to put it.
There is no balance in effective life. You're off balance sometimes. When you're at work, you're at work. When at home, I'm at home, and so you're off balance. So you can't have the same amount of balance in same amount of effort in time in each one of the areas.
Yeah, that's so true. So I want to ask about, because you've trained thousands and thousands of consultants. You know, what were the most effective methods you used to train them?
So the most effective thing you could do, at least what I found, is it's hard to get good at something unless you actually do it. So one of the things I would say when a person is first starting, I would say get a client. That's the number one thing you have to have is get a client. First of all, figure out who is your client and what do you have to offer, right? And how can it benefit them? And then get a client. I don't care if it's don't do a freebie. I don't like freebies because that's what you're going to attract. You're not going to get any results. But I would say get a client, even if it's a throwaway client. You get something, and I say throwaway in that if I don't make any money on this, it's okay. But when I say don't do it for free, what I mean is have some type of a trade off. That's why the Hare Krishnas used to sell, they would sell a flower, right, for $1. There's an
Yeah.
investment that you would put in there, right? So even if it's nothing more than a referral, I can help you with this if you'll give me a referral or give me an introduction to somebody that can help me or a testimonial or something. And then now you're getting some value back. They have to be invested some way. Now you got some value back. Now find out what is the biggest challenge you have and then work on that. It's not what I want to teach, it's what you need to have. What can I do to help you move closer to your goals, to eliminate the roadblocks and the obstacles, the things that are holding you back from achieving your goals? What if I can do that, find out what it is you want, and then I show somebody how to solve that particular problem. Then they do it with my help. I'll be there to help them and hold their hand. But that I find is the easiest, the fastest and easiest way for somebody to learn is to actually do it themselves. It's
Do it. Right.
JT on the job training.
Great. Are there any tools, technology, things like that you've preferred over the years that help you accomplish your consulting objectives?
Yeah. So the first one of the things I would say is find somebody, a mentor of some kind, and follow that person. Find somebody who's been successful, and do what they do. And the old thing is, if you want to be successful, find somebody else. Find somebody
Right.
who's done something and then follow them and do what they do,
Right.
and you can be successful. And that's pretty much true in the mainstream. But one of the challenges people have is they're always looking for new information. So they'll find something or somebody and they'll follow that person or that do that thing, and all of a sudden something else shiny will pop up over here and they'll follow that. And then something else happens and they never get through the entire program. People have their desktops loaded with all kinds of things that they purchased or freebies or lead magnets or whatever it is, thinking that this is going to be the savior for me and this is going to help me. No, find something or someone and follow that program. So what I've looked at is the biggest tool I could say is get somebody you can trust, somebody who has a program that works. Today, if you go on Facebook or Instagram or any of these other places, you'll find tons of people that are selling how to be a coach or how to be a consultant program, how to generate more leads, how to get 5 leads a day, how to get 10 leads and whatever. There's always something like that. And the problem is a lot of these are programs that some 25-year-old has bought a program or learned a program and they've knocked it off. They've learned how to market it and they're out there marketing this. And they're taking money from people. These people have never done it before in their lives. They have no practical in the trenches experience. They're teaching something they've never done themselves. And they're taking money from unsuspecting people who have worked hard for the money. They're investing their time and their effort in trying to figure out how can I make this business work? How can I get out of my corporate job and make this coaching business work? And they're falling by the wayside. They're failing miserably because the person who's done it doesn't have a clue about how to run a business or what to do in a real life situation. It's really easy to sit back and give information or give advice, but it's another thing to actually do it and
Yep.
to go out and talk to a real business owner. So the thing that
So,
the biggest thing I would say is to find something or somebody who's been around, who's done it, who has a program that actually works, who has real results, not just a bunch of testimonials you see on Instagram or on Facebook. Anybody can buy those, but real life experience in the business.
so do you have any preferred trainers or systems that you would recommend maybe to someone who they're coming into the business coaching space, business consulting space. They're trying to get started. They're maybe finding it's harder than they thought. And they go, okay, I'm going to invest some time in this. I'm going to invest a year or whatever and get really good at something, learn a methodology, follow someone. Is there someone that you would recommend, like a resource or a person that they could follow?
Well, I think one of the, I would say masters, I guess if you want to say it that way, of the business is Jay Abraham.
Yeah.
He's probably one of the most well-known and has most prolific. The problem is he's got too much stuff, and you can get too involved in that, going down the wrong way. And just a simple thing that anybody can do is buy his book, How to Get Everything You Want Out of Everything.
Getting everything you want out of something like that. Getting everything you can out of everything. Let me look it up and I'll
Yeah,
let you
you
know.
can look it up. It's real easy to find that. But
Yeah.
it's a book that goes through the the key points of business consulting or business coaching. And they're short chapters, but each chapter has a different, like lead generation or um, partnerships or joint ventures or um, risk reversals, that kind of thing. And if you understand that, it's not a step by step system how to do it, but it's teaching you the principles that you need to know. And that's probably one of the, the best books out there. He has another one. It's a little bit bigger book. He called it it's a little bit bigger. I think I have it. Hang on a second here. No, I don't have it, but I'll find the book and let you know. I can't think of what it
Sure.
is, but it's a book that somebody had taken his material and written a book on based on his material and was selling it. And Jay went out and took the book away from him. A lawsuit took the book away from him and then published it. He was selling it for $1,000.
It was Mr. X book,
Mr. X book. You're right.
Money Making Secrets of Jay Abraham and Other Marketing Wizards.
There you go. So you got the
Yeah.
job well up yourself. Yeah, and that's a really good book. It's a bit more involved, but it gets into a lot of detail about what to do. But I think anybody can start with that first book that we mentioned and get a pretty
Yeah.
good handle.
Yeah. Getting everything you can out of all you've got.
There you go.
It's on Amazon by Jay Abraham.
Okay.
Yeah. Jay gave me all his stuff when I was trying to work with him several years ago. Terabyte of hard drive or something of all his courses. And I mean, in the past, I bought everything I could and absorbed everything I could and took copious notes on like that Mr. X book, that Money Making Secrets of Jay Abraham and Other Marketing Wizards.
That was one of the first books that I came across of his.
That's a
So
phenomenal. It was like $400 or something way back when, and
yeah.
I used to wash my hands before I even touched it because I knew I didn't want to get smudges, and it might be worth something someday. I've got it in a box somewhere, but I dissected that book every which way.
So you bought everything you could with all the money you had, right? To piggyback on the title of his book.
Well, I think the getting everything you can out of all you got book. That's a wonderful place to start. Here's the thing, though, is that people read books like this for intellectual entertainment, and they don't sit down with a pen and or a notebook or their notebook computer, or whatever, their laptop, and start taking notes and dissecting it and putting plans together and memorizing things and learning the lessons and applying them in real life. They read through the book and they go, oh, that was good. I learned a few things, and they're gone. But it hasn't settled into their psyche of exactly what he's talking about.
Years ago, when I was doing sales training, we had cassette tapes at that time, and Nightingale Coat was a big one. So we'd go out, and a sales trainer might get a cassette program, and he would give the album to his salespeople, and say, "Okay, let's listen to this, and then apply it." So they would, as they're driving around, listen to one tape, and then to the next tape, and the next tape, and come back and say, "Okay, what else do you have?" And not do anything with it. So we said, "All right, here's what let's do. Let's go out and we'll train this company, and we'll take side one. We'll play part of side one of these tapes, and then we'll stop it and say, okay, how can you apply this? Give me some examples of how you would apply this in life." And we play another part of it. And we do that for the whole side one. And then we tell the sales manager, don't give them the album, give them the tape, and have them go out there. And for your first sales meeting, you're going to do this tape. Come back next week, and for your next sales meeting, we're going to review what did you learn, how did you apply it, what do you still need help on, and then we'll introduce tape two, and we'll do that. And pretty soon, so if you have a sales meeting every week, and you have 12 sides of the tape,
Wow.
six tapes, you have 12 sides, you got 12 weeks, you got 3 months worth of training out of an album, instead of let's listen to this thing all the way through for, like you said, entertainment.
Yeah.
That's what they were doing.
So if I want to be a business coach, consultant, want to grow, what methodologies would you run from, stay away from? There are things out there that you go, this just doesn't add up, stay away. Like you mentioned the 25-year-olds. I know it's hard because sometimes when you're 23, 24, you think you know a lot and you really don't. You think you've stumbled upon something and you don't. But is there anything else there that you think?
So yeah, find a good mentor or a good program or something you can, and especially even better is to find a good mentor with a good program, right? So something you can follow, and you can do that. Um, but just be careful with social media, because every time, like I mentioned before, every time you turn on social media, something new pops up. And it's real easy to get taken and say, well, the most important thing I need is a client. No, not necessarily. You don't need a lot of clients. If you get one client who pays you well, you can make a pretty good living, and then you go from there. One of the biggest mistakes I think people make is they try to go out and build a huge list. To be an effective coach or consultant, you don't need a huge list. You need 5, 6, 7 clients. And if you get any more than that, or very many more than that, you can't treat them with the intensity that they need and the effectiveness they need. So find and get yourself into a program where you charge based on the value the client gets, not what somebody else is charging, not what
Right.
you will charge, none of that. What kind of value? So if I'm going to teach somebody how to grow their business, if I teach them a principle, um, then what if they learn that principle and apply that principle in their business? What's that worth to them? So I look at that and say, it's not what anybody else does. And the thing is, when you promote yourself, you got to say, it's not what I say I can do for Pat. It's not what somebody else says I can do for Pat. It's what I have done for Pat that really counts. In other words, the testimonial or the referral or the introduction comes after the fact. What I say doesn't really matter. What somebody else says I can do doesn't matter. It's what I have actually done. So get yourself a client and then work with that person and get a result. Now, again, it doesn't have to be a highly paid client. It could be a client that you've gotten uh, a testimonial from, or a letter or reference, or an introduction, or you've done a podcast, or you've done something like that. Then get that one, and now build on that and get another one just like that. And that's really what it is. But stay away from all the shiny objects that you see out there, list building, and now AI, and all the other stuff that's coming on. AI is nothing wrong with AI, and I'm not knocking that, but there are too many AI programs and too many people teaching AI their own version of how AI works, and pretty soon you could get tied up into so many things.
Lots of rabbit holes right there in the AI world. Um, so, if you had to go back and start again and do things differently, what would you do differently than now, based on all your years of experience? You go, man, if I could do that again, what would it be?
I think the first thing I do is to be clear on who I want to work with. And well, first of all, I would look at what do I have to offer, and then secondly, who can benefit from that. Right. So I look if you're going to start a retail store, you have to know what your inventory is. What do I have in my store? That's the first thing you have to know. What do I have in my store? And then who can buy that? So people go out and say, well, I'm going to try to find somebody that has a problem. I'm going to find a solution for that. No, figure out what solutions you already have, what you already know, and then, okay, who can use that? So what is your inventory? What do you know? What can you do? What can you do better than anybody else? What is, some people call it a superpower, or whatever you want to call it. But anyway, what is it that I can do that nobody else can do. Or maybe they can do it, but they can't do it as effectively as I can, or in the same way I can. Then I would find, okay, who can benefit from that? It really narrows things down, because if I know what I have to offer and who can benefit from it, I don't have to sell to everybody. I can help
Right.
target the people who actually can benefit from this. And then what is the benefit I provide for them? What is the tangible benefit I provide for that person or that company? And I have to know that. And when I know that, I'm not selling a course or a program. I'm not selling what I want. I'm not selling what the marketplace is selling. I'm selling a solution to an identified problem or obstacle or
Mm.
situation that they're trying to get out of. So what do they want more of? And I look at these four things. So um, what does the company need to do more of? What do they need to do less of? What they need, what do they need to start, and what do they need to stop doing? Start doing, stop doing, do more of, do less of. So we're doing something right now. How's that working for you? Not working so well? Well, do less of it, or stop it altogether. Or if something's working for you, let's do more of it. Or if you see something, let's start doing that. Those four things will really help you identify what you need to do.
Amazing. So now, at this stage of your career, are you thinking about legacy? Thinking about what you're going to leave behind? Does that come
Not
in your
not
mind yet?
not anymore. I did, but I'm not anymore. I'm past that.
You're
Uh,
past the.
yeah, I'm past that. That's not important to me. What's really important to me is how do I live out the remaining years I have in the best way possible. And I say best way.
Nice.
How do I serve God? How do I serve my family? My family's doing well. I've got them.
Mm.
You know, most of them don't have college educations, and that's fine. But they have educations. They know
Yep.
what to do, right? And that's the most important thing. How do I think? The most important thing you have is right here. How do I use that? And most people don't use it. How do
Mm.
I think? You look at people and say, what were you thinking when you were doing that? What drove you to do that?
Right.
So stop and think about it. You mentioned it earlier. When you learn something, do I take it apart? If I read something, do I take it apart? Do I analyze it and say, okay, how does this thing work? Why does it work? Who will it work for? How can I improve it? How can I make it better? And we're put on this earth not to just take what we have. It's how do I make this world better? How do I take my talents and make my talents better? You know the old story about the talents, right? The 10 talents.
Yep.
So how do I make my talents better? How do I improve my situation? How do I improve somebody else's situation? Am I here to take up space and waste people's time? Or am I here to provide value that they can't get anywhere else?
So good. Is there anything that you have, like we haven't talked about this before, so I'm just going to throw it out there. Is there anything you have that you could sell or give to our audience if they were interested? I know you've done some writing in the past, but do you have anything on Amazon or on a website or something that people want to get more of the lessons you've learned through your life? Do you have anything like that that's available?
I do. And I'll be happy to give it to you. I'll give you a list of things that I have, various reports and things like 85 reports or something. And one of the most valuable things I have is a 4-volume set of. So what I used to do is I would go on these forums where people would go on, like Facebook forums and things. They would ask a question: what's the best way to do something?
Right.
And I would see the responses people would give to that. It's like, where did you come up with that stupid idea? Right? I mean, who would even think of that? And response after response is that way. I'm thinking, this guy is asking for help, and you're giving him these kind of off the wall things, like just silly things, or things that you don't think can work. So I would I would write a response to it, and I wouldn't write just a simple. I would write a whole response to it, like a page, 2 pages of it, and I put it out there. Now, why did I do that? I put it out there because this person is asking a question, and he wants an answer. Well, let me give him a detailed answer on how this works. So I started thinking, well, what do I do with that? If somebody else is going to ask that question sometime later, and
Right.
I spent the time with it, what am I doing with it? So I started saving those. So I put them in a manual, in a document, 250 pages. And then I said, well, I had 500. So now I got a 500-page manual. So I got now 750 pages. And so I
Wow.
said, no. So I broke it up into 4 different manuals of 250 pages apiece. So, uh, 5 manuals. That's 1,250 pages of nothing but questions and answers. Is this white file. So when you have a question, you say, well, I need the answer to this. So here's the table of contents. Just go down from it, and here's the answer. Or if you need an article you want to publish on something on social media, or you want to publish an art or send an article to someone to your list about something, how to solve a business problem or whatever. Then go through here and find, oh, I can do this. Now take it and rewrite it. You can
Yeah.
use it as it is, but it's better if you took the thing and rewrote it a little bit. So I remember one of them. I, I, I usually would take questions that were already posted on a forum, but sometimes I'd post my own question. One of them I said, "What do you say when people ask, what do you do?" And so that was a question. And I'm getting all the very first one I got, this guy named Walter, and he says, I tell them I can make them $100,000 in 10 minutes or less, or 45 minutes or less, and it won't cost them a dime. I wrote back and said, Walter, I can't use, I couldn't hire you. Well, why not? Because and every one of and I copied them all, and I sent this document. I copied all the responses. And I said, I can't use any of these. Well, why not? I answered. You said, what do you tell people? Well, I tell them I can do this. Well, that's nice, but that's what you want to tell them. That's not what I need. See, I don't need to have $100,000. My money situation is already taken care of. I can't find good employees. I can't find a good part. I can't, whatever it might be. And you may be able to do that, but because you said, here's what I do, I make more money for you, I turned you off because you didn't solve my problem. Yes, you answered the question. A better response would be, well, that's a great question, Martin. Tell me, what is it? So I can give you a good answer that makes sense to you. Tell me what the challenges that you're facing right now. Well, I can't find good employees. Oh, well, that's one of the things we do. In addition to making a lot of money, that's just part of. So if you're a coach or consultant, you have a category of things that you do. And if you just say, well, the thing I can do is make you more money, thinking everybody wants more money, it's not the case. Some businesses have enough money. They just have another problem. But because you answered over here, you just automatically you excluded
Right.
yourself from anything else. So that's one of the best things. I'll send you that, and you can take a look. But that's probably one of the most valuable things I have. And there's other things too, how to hold executive meetings. How do you do lunch and learn? How do you do build it, keep it? How do you build different kinds of programs that we have? How do you
Yeah.
hold a sales meeting? How do you? We have a 4 week workshop. How do you do a 4 week workshop? What do you do? You do a 4 week workshop. You just need to have 4 different things you're going to talk about. And one week you talk about this, so item number one. Next week, and to go home and do this, like with the cassette tapes with the training, right? Next week, come back, we're going to review what you did and
Right.
talk about how does it work for you? What kind of problems you still have? What do you need? And we'll introduce number two and do that for 4 weeks. We do an 8 week workshop. The problem with 8 weeks is you get over holidays or you get to vacation time and people can't make it. So we do 4 weeks. So every week for 4 weeks, you do a little program. So how do you charge for that? What if you charge somebody $3,000 for that? Can you provide $3,000 with 4 different ideas? Well, they not only teach them the idea, but they've actually implemented it, come back and got feedback on it to show them how to do it better and give it. Can you make somebody $3,000 in 4 weeks?
Yeah.
Well, so you stop and think about it. That's $750 per idea. If I give you an idea and I can't make you $750 from that idea, I have no business being in business.
Hmm.
Well, I got $3,000. What if you put 10 people together? You just made yourself $30,000 just in a 4 week workshop. What if you did that once a month, once every month? That's 12 times $30,000. You get $360,000. Now, what if you said, okay, well, we have a follow up program too, and it's $100 a month, and every month we're going to have, or every week maybe we're going to have a 1 hour Zoom call. Well, you take $100 times your 10 people times 12 months, right? So now you have 120 people times $100 a month.
Yeah.
And you tack that on to 360,000, you're $540,000, just like that. See, so it's just a simple little. I mean, and I have the whole thing laid out exactly what you do, what you teach, and all that thing. So
Wow. Fantastic.
yeah. So there's a whole. I have a whole bunch of those kind of things, and it's just because in the coaching or consulting business, Pat, and you know this, there are various ways to do this. You could do one-on-one. You can do groups. You can do all kinds of different things. Lunch and learns. You could do these 4-week workshops. You could do all kinds of things. What I looked at in my business, I didn't want to tie myself down with a business over a 12-month period. I just didn't want to do it because what happens is the first month you go out there and you knock it out of the ballpark for this guy. The
Yep.
next month it's not going to be quite that good because you've already harvested the low-hanging fruit. The next month may not quite be there either because now you're getting to get fewer. But the first results are going to start to pick up, but you're going to get fewer, right? So pretty soon the business owner looks at you and says, "Well, gee, Martin, you really hit it out of the ballpark the first couple of months, but things are kind of slowing down right now." Then you have to go back and explain this is business and it's going to take a while for it to ramp up and all that. And pretty soon he said, "Well, I don't want to wait. I need this now." And you start to develop an adversarial relationship in that thing. I said, "No, I want to work with the client. I want to produce the results and I want to move on. We'll have some maybe follow-up calls of that, but I want to hit these people with a program that could help them right now. If they want more, we'll get more." But I didn't want to work with people on a long-term basis. That was just me. For
Yeah.
years, for years, I did this the other way. And I said, I just got burned out. So just different ways. And everybody has to find the way that they want to work. If they want to work one-on-one, that's great. If they want to work in small groups, that's okay too. But once again, small groups, they start off with a bunch of people. And then as the group progresses throughout, you get fewer and fewer people attending the
Yep.
call.
That's the way it goes.
They say they're going to listen on their Zoom calls or the replays, and they don't. You
Yeah.
got to keep those results coming, and that's how you get your business. And once again, there are 3 different ways to get introduced to people. One is your word of mouth. You and I are just talking, "Hey, my insurance guy, you got to go see him." And the other one is a referral. That's another thing. And what we look for is introductions. I want you to take me to that person that you're talking to and say, "Hey, I play golf with you and you've seen my business and we've talked about this and I want to introduce you to the guy who got me there." An introduction is so much stronger, and we build the introduction right into the contract.
Wow.
Produce these results for you. Would you be willing to, if we hit these benchmarks and get these results, would you be willing to introduce me to 2 other people who have businesses similar to yours that could benefit from the same kind of results? Sure.
And that's a missing step for a lot of consultants because they don't think ahead like that.
So once we hit that results, I go back to them with the contract and say, "Listen, remember when we talked about this? Yeah. Well, we got these. Here's the results we got together. Not the results I got for you, but the results we got together. So remember when you said you'd be willing to. So when could we sit down and brainstorm together who those people might be? Because you know how the program goes. Do you know anybody that might benefit from this? No, I can't think of anybody. Well, if I can, I'll let you know." And it never happens. So when can we sit down and brainstorm together who might be a good candidate? And let's go pull out your mental file cabinet, pull the drawer out, pull out the file. It says business relationships, family, friends, clubs that I belong to, the gym, golf partner, whoever it is. And let me take one category at a time. Who do you know that you go to church with? And so it's anybody else. Okay. Then we go to the next category. So we're not thinking globally, we're thinking very specifically by category. Right? Now I got 7 names here. Which one do you think would be the best one for us to start with? Well, John. Well, why John? Out of all these names, why John? Now he's going to tell me why John's the best one. He's going to sell me on why John's the best one for us to start with. So what's the best way for us to get in touch with John so you can introduce me to him? See, all of a sudden now we take this introduction or take this referral thing and throw it out the window. We start now getting down to something very specific, very concrete on how we can get introductions to people who you told me you were going to give me an introduction, and now we selected the person out of your file, and you told me why there's this person, and you told me how to get in touch with them, and that's how you do it.
Amazing. Well, Martin, our time is up, and these are just gems for us, for the audience. I just want to thank you so much. If
Thank
someone wanted to get a hold of you, get in touch with you, is there a way they could get in touch with you?
Yeah, Martin at martinhowey.com.
That's brilliant. Okay.
MartinHowey. That's probably the easiest way. And like I mentioned, I'll send you some things that you can take a look at and see if you can
Right.
do somehow.
Thank you so much. God bless you.
Thanks.
Appreciate your time today.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thanks very much.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Consulting Kingdom. You've discovered valuable insights and strategies to enhance your consulting practice and to make a meaningful kingdom impact in your corner of the world. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, rate, and review the podcast on your favorite platform. Your feedback helps us to reach more consultants like you. To experience the Kingdom Growth Engine software firsthand and to stay connected, follow us on social media and visit our website at kingdomgrowthengine.com. Until next time, continue practicing your consulting skills, offer your assistance generously, bring value wherever you go, and serve with the heart of a king. Cheers!